This dress was made the day before a maternity photo shoot. It didn't exist the day before that. No zipper, no lining, no complicated construction. Just one pattern and one decision. I had already completed one outfit for the shoot, but the second one wasn't even started. Time wasn't on my side. And when time is tight in sewing, you don't reach for complexity. You reach for what works. For me, that's always knit fabric because knit doesn't ask for much. It stretches, it moves, it forgives. And on that day, I needed all three. The good news is you can create many imaginative and useful items using knits, but be aware that some knit fabrics stretch more than others. So I went through my pattern boxes and I landed on Vogue 2540, a designer pattern by Donna Karan. Here's the thing. It wasn't the size I needed. It wasn't made for maternity, not even close. And the suggested fabrics? Chiffon and georgette. I had none of that. What I did have was a few meters of teal knit. And sometimes that's all you need. The dresses on the pattern were two-piece and nothing about them said maternity. There's a variety of knits called stable, meaning they have minimal stretch. Sewing a piece of fabric with 10% stretch to one with stretchability of more than 70% takes more time. This one, lucky me, was stable. I did a quick scan to make sure I had enough fabric because I had no matching lining for the bodice. That was going to be self-lined. In such a case, it would make the whole project easier. This is where sewing changes because instead of asking, can I make this? I asked, what part of this pattern can I use? I didn't need the pattern for the template. It was too big for that. But when I searched for a quick idea, it showed up. When you are cutting a knit pattern, you usually make it smaller than you would a woven. But how much smaller depends on the stretchability of the fabric you're cutting. I made sure I had the thread and elastic that I needed, and I spread my fabric on the table and got ready for layout. I chose the cold shoulder top. There were two tops, but I chose the cold shoulder top because it was self-lined. All I had to do was cut it at the underbust level. So that became my starting point. Then I used the remaining fabric to create the skirt, not a single other piece. With no separated pieces, I could count on uncomplicated assembly. The front and the back were cut in one, the top that is, which meant fewer seams and less time. I stitched the armholes, and since it's a cold shoulder, when you're stitching the armholes, you're also finishing the neckline. Then I joined the skirt to the top, and just like that, the structure of the dress was done. Simple decisions done with intention. In general, to preserve the strength of seams in many knit fabrics require stabilizing them with non-stretch materials. But this didn't need that. It was a stable knit. Besides, I had to look out for bulk because this fabric was thicker than recommended. And when it came to applying the elastic, I had to beware of that. One of the main characteristics of knit fabrics is they do not fray when cut. So if you don't want to, you will not have to finish seams as you would on woven fabrics. Now, here's where we add shape. Because without shaping, any dress or garment, including knits, can feel unfinished. So I added elastic right at the back seam allowance, where the skirt and the bodice connected. Not complicated, not visible, but it's effective. It does the job. It gently gathered the fabric and brought the dress closer to the body, giving her comfort without restriction. And that one detail changed everything. In addition, the average knit fabrics are not challenging to sew. That is, providing one uses made-for-knits ballpoint needles and adjust your sewing machine accordingly. I made the smallest hem that I could manage on that fabric because it was not lightweight, it was medium weight. Thus, putting a double hem gave it a tiny bit of bulk. In less than 1 hour, I was finished with the dress, soft, flowing, and ready for a moment that mattered. That's the beauty of pattern hacking. You are not bound by what was designed, what's on the envelope. Let your creativity guide you to what's possible. The story didn't end there. A year later, I revisited the dress with sustainability on my mind. Not to remake it, but to refine it. I gathered the shoulder slightly to shape or reshape the neckline. And I added a small detail. I had a broken necklace that I repurposed as decoration. Then I put another row of elastic at the back. A subtle change, but a meaningful one. Because this is what slow fashion looks like. Not more, but better. Better suited to the occasion, better suited to you, better suited to your loved ones. This dress wasn't for me. It was for my daughter. But I'm glad that I could do it. The truth is, I didn't have time. Just a few quiet hours, a length of fabric, a pattern that didn't quite belong to the moment, and an idea that felt uncertain. Everything seemed to say, this is not enough. Not the right fabric, not the right pattern, not enough time to do it properly. Then I asked, what can I do with this? And I knew I had to let go of perfect, choose simple, trust the fabric and my hands. And piece by piece, something formed. Not what I planned, but what I needed. What I've learned over time is this. Patterns are not rules. They are starting points. And when you begin to see them that way, you give yourself permission to create in a way that fits your life, your time, your fabric, your needs. I could have used another fabric, but that teal fabric was on hand, waiting to become. I'm sure if I looked, I would have found something else, but I didn't have the time. I needed a dress for a photo shoot, and I got one. Quick and simple. It met my needs. Sometimes all it takes is 1 hour and a different way of looking at what you already have. If you love sewing, fashion, creativity, and stories from a lifetime maker, welcome to All My Ways, Andrea. As always, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your presence.